So I've been tracing throughout this file using the polyline tool, but there are a couple other drafting features that I'd really like to show you how to use. So first, I want to focus on this area down here. So this is some wooden decking. And in order to draw this pretty quickly and have my corners all square, I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm going to go ahead and add some basic shapes together to create that more complex shape. So the first thing that would make my life so much easier would be if I rotate this plan so that instead of having these on a diagonal, they were perfectly perpendicular with my screen. So in order to do that, I come up here to the view bar and I click on Rotate Plan. And then over here, it's going to prompt me and tell me what it is that I would like it to do. So it's saying, click to select the center of plan rotation. So in this case, I'm just going to use this point down here. And then you can see it's giving me a line with an arrow, and it's giving me an indicator of the direction that it's going to rotate in. So let's go ahead and I will just rotate it based on this retaining wall that I've already drawn in using the polyline tool. And so now I've been able to rotate my drawing, and I can draw this pretty quickly now using the rectangle tool. So I will come over here in the basic tool set and select the rectangle tool, and then I am just going to trace these shapes. And I'm going to make sure that I have my snapping tool on where I can snap to objects, because I do want to make sure that these edges are touching. And I can make my shapes a little bit bigger. In that case, it doesn't matter if the edge is touching. And so just kind of keep drawing rectangles until you have the shape completely filled in. And I have one more over here that I'll draw. Great. And then we'll come in, we'll work on this kind of funny shape over here in a minute. But in order to use these, all I need to do is, with the selection tool, click on the first one and then hold on to Shift or press down Shift and click on the rest of the shapes until I have all of those shapes that I just created selected. And then right click and select Add Surface. And then it just turned them into one big shape. So you'll notice that I have this interesting little point over here where my rectangles didn't quite overlap. It's not too late to fix that. I'm just going to come back to the rectangle tool. I will draw another rectangle over that shape. Then I will select my larger shape that I already made, this new rectangle that's essentially my whiteout. It's the same operations. Right click for the context menu and then select Add Surface. And so now it cleaned that shape up. And then I have this kind of funny area over here where you can see that this retaining edge sort of curves in order to terminate. So I can come over here to the polygon tool, and the polygon tool is located right next to the polyline tool. The difference between the polygon tool and the polyline tool is the polygon will only draw straight lines like this, whereas the polyline tool, it'll draw straight lines, but it'll also draw curves. What makes the polygon tool so unique actually is the second mode, and this is the inner boundary mode. So when I click that, I can go ahead and click inside any closed shape. So there could be no opening in the shape over here in order for this tool to work. And when I click on that, it makes a polyline. So notice over here in the object info palette, it's made a polyline for me that fills in that shape. So what that means is that I can now come over and get the selection tool. I have this new polyline that I just created selected already, so hold down Shift and click that original polyline that I was making, and then right click for the context menu, Add Surface, and now I have this shape that if I were only using the polyline tool with all of the different vertice modes, would have been really complicated to click an outline for. So that was a very quick way to come up with an accurate outline with right angles for all of those edges. So one reason that I care about having a closed shape is, let's go ahead and get rid of this image file real quick so we can see it a little bit better. But let's say that I want to add a hatch, and let's look for wood decking. I'll spell it right first. Let's try this again. There we go. So let's go with the 4-inch. And then remember, we're on an angle right now. You can see that up here under the current view that we have a rotated top plan view. If we wanted, we could go back to just a regular top plan view. But now I can see sort of what decking would look like. If I don't like the way that those lines are lined up, I can use my attribute mapping tool, and I can just click on this center handle and I can rotate this until they line up pretty well. And I'm holding down the tilde key so that snapping doesn't interfere with the action that I'm trying to take. So that's one reason. Being able to fill a shape in accurately is one reason why we would care about having a closed shape. There are other objects that we're going to learn to make later on in the class where a closed shape will be required. So it's really good to learn how to do that. Let's go ahead and look at other instances for a closed shape. So I have this retaining wall up here, and let's say I want to make that a closed shape so that I can give this sort of a darker fill to indicate that it is an elevated surface. So if I were just to come over here and click on the polygon tool and use that fill bucket, it's not going to do anything. And the reason that it's not going to do anything is because it's currently an open shape. So you can see over here, I have no end on that side. I also have no end on that side, and I have an opening over here. So first off, let's go ahead and close this opening that's in the middle. There's a really nice tool for this in the basic tool set. It is right here, and it's called the Connect Combine tool. Now, if we pay attention to the modes up here, the second mode for the dual object connect mode is the one that we want. It's going to create like an L shape or a V shape. So what I do is I click on the first object that I want to connect and then click on the second. And I'm going to have to like click both of them so that they meet. But now I should have a closed shape right there. Then in order to fix these shapes up here, all I'm going to do is just draw a line through the shape, and let me change my mode over here to the unconstrained mode first. So something like that should do. You can go ahead, when trying to create closed shapes, it's a really great idea to overdraw your line. That way you know for certain that your line is closed, because you can always come back later and delete the lines that you used to make your closed shape. So let's go back to the polygon tool, and with the inner boundary mode, we're going to click inside of that shape. And now you can see that this has made a polyline tool. And what I can do is just come over here. Let's give this like a gray color to indicate that it's a retaining wall. And there we go. So it's a really great idea to learn how to make closed shapes so that you can quickly use the inner boundary mode in order to create other objects out of those.